Have you ever sat down for a meal with a Seventh-day Adventist only to notice something intriguing about what is on their plate? Or perhaps what is noticeably absent from it? If you have ever been to a community potluck, a school cafeteria, or a dinner host's home within the Adventist tradition, you might have observed a very specific dietary pattern. While many Christians around the world feel entirely free to enjoy shrimp, crab, lobster, or catfish, Seventh-day Adventists approach the dinner table with a distinct set of guidelines. For millions of people observing this faith, particularly in the United States, certain aquatic creatures are simply off the menu. To those outside the faith, this choice can raise immediate questions. Why would a modern Christian denomination in the 21st century choose to refrain from eating shellfish or bottom-feeding fish? Is this a legalistic ritual, a cultural preference, or health habit? Visitors often find this custom unusual because mainstream Western society generally views seafood as a delicate, healthy, and highly desirable delicacy. Crabs, lobsters, and oysters are frequently celebrated as gourmet treats. Yet if you offer a plate of grilled shrimp or a clam chowder to a practicing Adventist, they will politely decline. Understanding why requires us to step back and examine a deeply rooted philosophy that connects physical health with spiritual stewardship. At the core of this practice is a conviction that the human body is a sacred creation. Adventists do not view dietary choices as arbitrary rules designed to restrict pleasure. Instead, they see them as a thoughtful response to biblical instruction and a practical way to care for the physical temple God has entrusted to humanity. When you look at the fundamental beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, health holds a prominent position. Adventists believe that God cares about every aspect of human life, including physical wellness, mental clarity, and spiritual vigor. To understand the biblical foundation behind avoiding specific sea creatures, Adventists point directly to the sacred scriptures, specifically the Old Testament books of the law. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verses 9 through 12, as well as Deuteronomy, chapter 14, verses 9 and 10, God provides clear instructions to the ancient nation of Israel regarding what creatures from the waters were considered clean and suitable for consumption. According to the text, Israel was permitted to eat anything from the waters, whether from the seas or the rivers, that possess both fins and scales. Conversely, any creature living in the water that lacked either fins or scales was designated as unclean and an abomination to be avoided. When you apply this ancient biblical standard to the ocean world, a clear dividing line emerges. Fish like salmon, cod, trout, and tuna meet the biblical criteria because they possess both fins and scales. On the other hand, shellfish such as shrimp, lobsters, crabs, clams, mussels, and oysters do not have fins and scales. Similarly, certain fish like catfish or eels lack traditional scales. Historically, God gave these guidelines to his people long before modern science existed to study marine biology or digestive systems. For Adventists, this historical biblical distinction is not viewed as a temporary ceremonial ritual, but rather as original divine wisdom designed for human well-being. Before we explore how early believers understood these guidelines and how modern science views these ocean creatures, I want to invite you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever wondered about the biblical roots of daily health habits? Or have you ever personally questioned why ancient scriptures contain such specific dietary instructions? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. We love hearing different perspectives from our viewers around the world. As we look deeper into this biblical distinction, an intriguing paradox appears. Why would a loving creator classify certain ocean creatures as unfit for human consumption while making others suitable? The answer involves not only biblical text, but also the astonishing biological role these creatures play in the ecological design of our oceans. When we look deeper into the biological world, the ancient instructions found in Leviticus chapter 11 reveal a fascinating ecological reality. Adventists observe that creatures lacking fins and scales often serve a very specific vital function in marine environments. Shellfish like clams, oysters, mussels, and crabs, along with bottom-feeding fish such as catfish, act as nature's natural filtration systems. Oysters, for example, filter vast quantities of water every day, absorbing toxins, algae, and organic debris to keep the ocean water clean. Crabs and lobsters act as scavengers, consuming decaying organic matter on the ocean floor. For Seventh-day Adventists, recognizing this biological purpose validates the wisdom of the biblical text. God created these creatures with an incredible purpose for the ecosystem, but not necessarily to be processed by the human digestive system. Within real Adventist church life in the United States, this dietary principle is integrated seamlessly into daily culture, local churches, and educational institutions. If you visit an Adventist university campus, a church school, or a hospital cafeteria run by the church's healthcare network, you will notice that shellfish and unclean fish are completely absent. During local church potlucks, a cherished weekly tradition where families gather after Saturday morning worship, the food served is strictly aligned with biblical health principles. While many Adventists choose a fully vegetarian or plant-based diet, those who do choose to eat meat and fish adhere strictly to the biblical clean and unclean distinctions. Families teach their children from a young age how to read food labels, ask respectful questions at restaurants, and make conscious choices about what they put into their bodies. However, this practice often leads to common misunderstandings among visitors and friends of other Christian traditions. A frequent misconception is that Adventists avoid shellfish because they believe they can earn their salvation through dietary strictness. Many wonder if Adventists are attempting to follow ancient Jewish ceremonial laws that were nailed to the cross. Adventists clearly clarify that salvation is purely a gift of grace through faith in Jesus Christ, not something earned by eating or avoiding certain foods. The avoidance of certain seafood is not viewed as a rigid requirement to gain God's favor, but rather as a joyful response of love, gratitude, and wise stewardship over the body God has given them. Another common misunderstanding is the belief that New Testament teachings abolished all health distinctions regarding food. Critics often point to passages in the New Testament to suggest that all animals are now declared clean for human consumption. Adventists approach these texts with careful context. For instance, when studying the vision given to the Apostle Peter in the book of Acts, chapter 10, where a sheet filled with various animals descends from heaven, Adventists emphasize that the passage itself explains its own symbolic meaning. In verse 28 of that same chapter, Peter explicitly states that God showed him he should not call any man common or unclean. The vision was about breaking down prejudice against Gentile people, not changing human digestive biology or God's design for physical health. Take a moment to pause and consider this perspective. Have you ever considered how physical health habits might influence a person's spiritual focus and overall quality of life? Let us know in the comments below if you think modern health discoveries align with ancient principles of wellness. This distinction between ceremonial laws and practical health principles lies at the heart of the Adventist lifestyle. But how does this dietary choice connect to a broader spiritual vision of living intentionally in today's fast-paced world? When we bring this full picture together, the Adventist decision to avoid certain types of fish and seafood becomes far more than a simple set of kitchen rules. It is an expression of a holistic worldview that sees faith as something that impacts every decision of daily life. For Seventh-day Adventists, caring for the body is intimately tied to spiritual well-being. The Bible states in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20, that the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit purchased with a price, and that believers are called to glorify God in both body and spirit. By choosing foods that nourish the body while passing over those designed to filter toxins from the sea, Adventists view their plates as a silent testimony of stewardship, reverence, and self-discipline. It is also important to address common objections with deep respect and open dialogue. Some people naturally ask why health principles given thousands of years ago to an ancient Near Eastern nation should apply to believers living today in modern society. Others point out that modern culinary safety standards and freezing methods can eliminate many parasites found in marine life. Adventists thoughtfully respond that while sanitation technology is certainly advanced, The fundamental biological design of marine scavengers and bottom feeders remains unchanged. An oyster still functions as an aquatic filter, and a crab still serves as an ocean floor scavenger. To the Adventist mind, God's original health principles were given out of love and foresight, protecting human health long before modern science could analyze microplastics, heavy metals, or cellular toxicity. At the same time, Adventists maintain a balanced approach that respects individual choices. The church does not condemn or judge those of other Christian traditions or backgrounds who eat shellfish or unclean fish. Rather, the message is presented as an invitation to optimal health and abundant living. Adventists believe that when a person experiences physical vitality and clarity of mind, they are better equipped to serve God, love their neighbors, and study the Scriptures with focus and joy. It is about choosing what is best, not simply what is permissible. Thank you so much for taking the time to journey with us today through the Scriptures and history behind this unique practice. We truly appreciate your curiosity, your openness, and the thoughtful time you spend exploring these biblical topics with our channel family. If you found this explanation helpful and want to discover more about why Adventists do what they do and the biblical foundations behind their lifestyle, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss an episode. We look forward to continuing this journey of discovery together with you in our next video. May you be blessed with health, clarity, and peace as you walk in God's truth.